Obviously, we had to change it up and be delayed even more because when the CEO of the company walks in, you kind of got to stop whatever you're doing. So here we go.
Peyton, I demanded it.
No, you did. You did. Peyton Manning quoted after the game, "It's not embarrassing at all, basically, about the performance. I would never use that word. The word embarrassing is an insulting word, to tell you the truth." No, I'm pretty sure it was kind of embarrassing. That was probably one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever seen.
Well, it is a little bit of an insulting word, and it was well earned.
Right. And you mean to insult him?
Yes, that was the question at hand. Yeah. And Huffington Post had a headline, well-known sports website, Huffington Post, a headline, humiliating, with Peyton's head down, right?
Totally fair.
Right. And that's what it was. It was 43-8.
And when you have a quarterback rating, again, quarterback rating is such a silly yardstick, but we know what bad is, right?
Right.
When you have the greatest season ever and you're widely acknowledged as maybe the greatest quarterback ever, and you have a quarterback rating of 25 in the Super Bowl. Wow. And he completed, he set a Super Bowl record for completions, just to show you how meaningless that is. He completes 34 passes and still has a passer rating of 25. That's embarrassing. But I understand his response, saying that, we're proud, we gave it all, we got our ass kicked.
Right.
He's saying, I'm not embarrassed for us or our performance.
Yeah, of course he's going to say.
Yeah, but then the funny thing was they asked Champ Bailey, and what did Champ Bailey say?
It's embarrassing. Man.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because he's honest.
Yeah.
So, look, Manning, he sucked, right? So the only question is whether his sucking involved choking or not, right?
Okay.
And so Seattle's an awesome defense. A lot of quarterbacks have sucked. I think Steve has made this point. Drew Brees sucked against them. Colin Kaepernick did for one game, but not the others.
Last year and this year.
Okay, but 2 games he was great, right? And so you can't, there's no definitive conclusion to that, right? But if it was, like Drew Brees, we don't think choked against Seattle because he doesn't have a context of choking. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like he's never choked before. It's not a thing that's happened. Peyton Manning, University of Tennessee, choked all the ball games. Early in his career, it's unquestionable that he choked the playoff games. Now, then he had a great stretch. He won the Super Bowl. More importantly, he beat the Patriots in that legendary game before the Super Bowl in 2006 and stuff. This year in the playoffs, I've been saying he's going to choke, and he didn't until he got to the Super Bowl. And it's not just the picks.
So you think he did choke?
So, look, I lean towards yes, within the context of who we know Peyton Manning to be and his past performances.
You mean 12 postseason losses? That's what you mean?
Yeah, of course.
I think 11 and 13.
11 and 12.
11 and 12.
Oh, okay.
In the context, and then in the context of this game as well, yes, I lean towards choking, right? I understand if other people don't, right? But it wasn't just the picks, and it wasn't like, oh, he just got rushed or whatever. No, wild overthrows, just playing way worse than he normally would. And by the way, let me just be fair to Peyton in one other way. He suffers from high expectations. He's such a great quarterback in the regular season, the greatest that's ever played, that when he does poorly in the playoffs, by comparison, you go, Jesus, what the hell happened to that guy?
Sure.
So I hear that too, but he does, and he did.
Steve, you agree with
I
that?
disagree, and I disagree largely because this is what Seattle does to people. Seattle rattles them, and they're unsure because they're so fast. And you saw this with Kaepernick. Until the last game that Kaepernick played against Seattle, he looked rattled the whole way.
Just let me jump in, because I don't think Kaepernick played well at all in that game. I think that game was San Francisco's for the taking, and I think Kaepernick made a series of bad decisions. He made some nice plays, finally, with his feet. But I don't think he played particularly well in that game, and I think that game was winnable and maybe should have been won.
You know who he played better than? Peyton Manning.
Yes,
he did throw 2 picks in the fourth quarter. You're right about that.
Terrible
So
picks.
I thought he played well for 3/4 of the game, but in clutch time, 2 terrible picks. I don't disagree with that.
And that's why I don't like to classify this as a choke job by Manning, because that's what Seattle does. If Manning plays Seattle 4 games the way Kaepernick did, he'll figure some stuff out, and he'll be a little bit better each time. But he just got blitzed yesterday, and he was thrown completely out of his rhythm, and he couldn't do the things that that he's comfortable doing. He's out of his comfort zone, and it just snowballed. And actually, Chris Carter made a really good point yesterday. He said, as you get deeper into the playoffs, it's like a bigger stage, brighter lights, and everything is magnified. So if you fall behind, So in the Super Bowl era, the biggest deficit that was overcome was 10 points. Ever in the Super Bowl, because once things start to
Washington,
snowball, it snowballs so much faster. And it's not just you; it's your whole teammates. A lot of them who don't have the experience or whatever it may be. So the left guard doesn't block as well as he normally because he's scared. And now that you're behind, so now he's even more nervous.
Well,
so everything is snowballed.
But isn't, to Jenk's point, it's a valid point by Chris Carter and you, and I think it's true. But as much as I hate to defend Jenk in this situation, isn't that snowballing effect a form of choking? That's a big stage, and you're scared, and you're more scared than you would be in a normal situation.
I would partially put it on the Broncos' offensive line, because the way that the Seahawks were blitzing from left and right, they were throwing 5 or 6 guys in the box, and they got to him repeatedly. So if you don't have that sort of time that he usually had during the regular season, what is he supposed to do then? As Jenk likes to indicate, he gets happy feet. He rushes his throws in the pocket. A lot of them were overthrows. But he was pressured consistently, throughout the entire game.
Remember, he has happy feet when he goes 29 of 36 for 417 yards and 4 touchdowns. His feet move. It seemed more dramatic. Look, he plays. One of the problems with the choking is in the sports world, the enormous power of that word, right? Right. It means that you're this great person, and on the big stage you can't do it. You're a failure. So,
but he's done it.
To me, I would say it is what you started with. He's 11-12 in the postseason. His postseason stats pale in comparison to his regular season stats. That is what it is. He is not the same quarterback in many postseason games. The competition is better, so you're playing nothing but good teams in those 23 postseason games. That's part of it. But there's no disputing it. We now have 23 games it's not no sample size. Like, that's a season and a half. He's not as good.
Did you notice that they were running the same play-action play to no Sean Moreno even in the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
we know that you're not going to run. You don't have to fake
I
a
know,
handoff.
but it becomes for them. Like, that's how they
I
set their
understand
plan.
that, but I mean, you were talking about adjustments. Also, even in the second quarter, their zone defense was awful, and that was a huge, huge upside to Russell Wilson with the quick strikes, the little 2-3 step drops and throws. They were finding the holes like crazy in the Broncos' defense.
I think I don't, these arguments I don't like. I mean, I disagree with them. That's basically what I'm saying. Is that because I don't know how well prepared they were, but I know that execution trumps preparation, and the Seahawks executed. They executed on defense. They executed every big pass on third down. And when those throws are quick and on the money, I don't care what your zone defense is. That's a perfect pass to a receiver who knows where he's going. It's going to beat the defensive back. And they didn't juggle it, and they didn't catch it. And earlier we were talking about Manning's throws that need to be up here around the hip. Russell Wilson's throws were right here every time. Yeah. And it's not, they didn't get any yards after the catch on those plays. They didn't need him. They needed 3rd and 9. They threw for 9 yards, and the guy caught it and got hit and fell down, and they got a first down.
Okay, so, very quickly.
Sorry, one last thing. That goes towards everybody being nervous. I think it's a function of having John Fox as your head coach, who's a nervous guy, and Peyton Manning. So that's why, no matter whose fault you think the snap was, somebody snaps it, it goes over somebody's head. Somebody drops a pass. Somebody throws a little too high. They're a tight team, and that's how they choke.
And look, you and I discussed it before. If Manning gets to the Super Bowl, he's already won, and he's not a choker because he's not going to beat the Seahawks or the Niners. We said this last week, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Manning did what he could do, and against superior competition, he failed. Okay, he played badly, and there's a little bit of choking involved, if you want to call it that. He underperformed. He played badly. But the reason why I don't like this choking talk is because I think it diminishes what the Seahawks did. What they did was so awesome. It didn't really choke. It's just that they forced Denver into a position of being panicked, worried, and on the run constantly. I mean, Manning had no level of comfort at all. There was never a time when he stood in the pocket, calmly found his guy. He did it in the very first play of the game. Demaryius Thomas came across for that little 5-yarder, and they usually catch that. Manning delivered it perfectly. He caught it in stride. I thought he was going to run for another 15 yards, and Cam Chancellor said, no yak for you, and he blew him up.
Yeah, look, the final point for me about Manning is that, look, even I find myself unbearable, and hence I wanted Seattle to blow him out and stuff, right? But I'm not a total dick.
Can't wait to the rest of the sentence that included, I was quietly.
Okay. No, I was hoping that Manning had a good game and they lost anyway, right? And then I would say to myself and the audience, okay, now I get to shut the fuck up. He played a good game. It wasn't his fault, and Seattle's just the better team.
Right.
But he didn't play a good game. So then I have to continue to be slightly unbearable, and I'm done with him. Like I'm done with. Like I feel bad.
Thank
I
God.
know he's not part of this, right?
Right.
But
Yeah,
I feel bad as a, I don't know if it's a liberal thing or whatever, but he is what he is.